Today on the Daily Scoop podcast from the Scoop News Group, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth moves to reshape DOD's AI and tech hubs. And the latest executive branch budget pact includes IT investments and less money for DOGE. It's Wednesday, January 14th, 2026. Welcome to the Daily Scoop podcast, where you'll hear the latest news and trends facing government leaders. I'm the host of the Daily Scoop podcast, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for joining me. And now let's dive into the day's top headlines. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth shared his team's long-awaited new plans to outpace U.S. adversaries by rapidly advancing the military's arsenal of AI, drones, hypersonics, and other disruptive technologies, and drastically reshaping the Pentagon's approaches for safely deploying them. Speaking on stage at SpaceX's Starbase launch site in Texas during a tour hosted by its billionaire CEO Elon Musk, Hegseth said, quote,
"In short, when it comes to our current threat environment, we are playing a dangerous game with potentially fatal consequences. We need innovation to come from anywhere and evolve with speed and purpose."
Hegseth's speech and 3 accompanying memos released Monday reveal the Trump administration's latest fast-moving and multifaceted vision to overhaul the Defense Department's technology enterprise and dismantle perpetual barriers that have historically slowed the military's commercial capability adoption. Hegseth said that old era ends today and that the department is done running what he called a peacetime science fair, while our potential adversaries are running a wartime arms race. The revamped structure notably aims to anchor a unified innovation ecosystem built around 6 executive organizations that will now collectively operate under the purview of DOD Chief Technology Officer and Undersecretary for Research and Engineering, Emil Michael. Those newer and more legacy entities include the Pentagon's Chief Digital and Artificial Intelligence Office, or CDAO, DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, the Defense Innovation Unit, the Office of Strategic Capital, the Strategic Capabilities Office, and the Test Resource Management Center. Referring to this group as the department's new innovation operating system, Hegseth explained that
DARPA delivers game-changing technology innovation and strategic surprise. DIU delivers scalable products. SCO delivers new ways of fighting. And CDAO and OSC provide the data, test, and capital to move at wartime speed.
As a cohesive hub, they'll be organized to deliver technology, product, and operational capability-specific innovation outcomes. Pointing to Michael in the front row during his speech, the secretary emphasized that the CTO will report to him every day on whether the department is gaining or losing the technology and innovation competition. Michael will have decision authority and lead tech evaluations with a sharp focus on driving real, measurable outcomes. Under the new framework, the Pentagon CTO Council and Biden-era organizations, including the Defense Innovation Steering Group and the Defense Innovation Working Group, are being dissolved. With that, Michael is convening a new CTO action group in their place to inform his decision-making and help eliminate what Trump's team views as longstanding administrative blockers. There's so much more from Hegseth's announcement at Starbase, so make sure to check out Brandy Vincent's story about it on defensescoop.com to learn more. Now moving on to other news from Capitol Hill, Senate and House appropriators are eyeing White House work on IT, artificial intelligence, and cloud infrastructure, and a continued presence for DOGE as part of their fiscal year 2026 bill to fund financial services and general government. On the executive branch funding released Sunday for the fiscal year ending September 30th, lawmakers agreed on $124.3 million for salaries and expenses in the White House's Office of Administration, with up to $12.8 million of that used for IT modernization. No more than $10 million of that IT pie should be spent for security and continuity of operations improvements. The Information Technology Oversight and Reform, or ITOR bucket, which historically has supported the Office of the Federal CIO and the now defunct U.S. Digital Service, would receive $8 million under the new budget. House Appropriations Republicans said in their press release that money would be used to fund the so-called Department of Government Efficiency, which has replaced USDS as the U.S. DOGE service. That $8 million figure is a fraction of the Trump administration's initial ask. In its June 2025 budget proposal, the White House requested $45 million in funding for DOGE, the Elon Musk created group that led the decimation of the federal workforce in the early days of the Trump administration under the auspices of rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse of agencies but ended up actually raising government spending. The White House also sought $19 million for the ITOR account. Beyond DOGE and general IT modernization, congressional appropriators came to an agreement on how the White House should approach AI-ready data, writing that the House and Senate recognize the critical need for it to enable the adoption of AI and machine learning across the federal government. The lawmakers' agreement encourages the Office of Management and Budget to produce guidance that requires agencies to assess, structure, and modernize their data sets for AI applications. Within 180 days of the budget's enactment, OMB would be directed to brief the Senate and House Appropriations Committees on its progress on the guidance. For more news at the intersection of the federal government and technology, make sure to visit fedscoop.com. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Daily Scoop podcast, available on all podcast platforms. If you've already rated the podcast on your platform of choice, thanks so much. High ratings and good reviews of the show help more people to find it. The Daily Scoop podcast is a production of the Scoop News Group in Washington, D.C. Adam Butler and Carlin Fisher help put the show together, and the entire Scoop News Group team contributes. We'll be back tomorrow with more top headlines. Until then, I'm your host, as always, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for listening.